Right now, as you're reading this, the money in your account is worth less than when you started this sentence. Not by much, but it's happening. Every second, every minute. And here's what keeps me up at night. This isn't new. This exact moment. It's happened before. 5 times. 5 empires, 5 collapses. Same warning signs, same mistakes, same devastating ending. And we're watching it happen again. But this time, it's not in a history book. It's in your grocery receipt, your rent increases, your savings account that somehow buys less every year. The pattern is screaming at us. The question is, are we listening? To understand where we're headed, we need to go back, not decades, centuries. Because history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And right now, the rhyme is getting louder. There's a pattern hidden in plain sight, a cycle that's played out across 2,000 years, from ancient Rome to modern America. From gold coins to credit cards. Technology changes, the currency changes. But human behavior, that stays the same. And it's that behavior, that predictable, tragic pattern, that destroys empires. Every empire believes it's different. Every empire has better technology, smarter leaders, stronger armies. Every empire thinks they've figured out what others couldn't, and every single one discovers the same truth. You can't outsmart economic gravity. What goes up must come down. What inflates must eventually burst, and when it does, it's not the emperors or presidents who suffer most. It's the teacher, the merchant. The family is trying to buy bread. It's you. Here's what they don't teach you in school. There are 3 mistakes, 3 critical errors that appear in sequence before every economic collapse. Stage 1, they expand the money supply. Stage 2, they deny there's a problem. Stage 3, they try to fix it and make it worse. Rome did it. Germany did it. Japan did it. America in 2008 did it. And if you're paying attention, if you've watched your grocery bill climb while your paycheck stays flat, you already know we're doing it again. The pattern doesn't care about your politics. It doesn't care about your economic system. Capitalism, socialism, empire, democracy, the pattern devours them all. Because the pattern isn't about systems. It's about human psychology, greed, fear, denial. The belief that this time is different. Spoiler alert, it never is. Let me take you to Rome, 235 AD. The empire is massive, stretching from Britain to Egypt, the most powerful civilization on earth. Roman coins, the denarius, are trusted everywhere. Pure silver, solid value. Merchants across 3 continents accept them without question. The economy is booming. Trade routes overflow with goods. Roman citizens feel invincible. Why wouldn't they? They've conquered the known world. But here's what most people don't know. The silver content in Roman coins was already dropping. In 64 AD, under Nero, coins were 90% silver. By 235 AD, down to 50%. The government needed money wars to fight, soldiers to pay, infrastructure to build. So they did what seemed logical. They made more coins. Same face value, half the silver. Nobody would notice, right? Source: The Roman Economy by Peter Temin, Princeton University Press. They noticed? Merchants weren't stupid. When coins contain less silver, they're worth less. So prices went up. A loaf of bread that cost 1 denarius suddenly cost 2, then 3, then 5. The government's response: denial. The coins are fine, they insisted. Anyone raising prices is a traitor. They passed price control laws, death penalty for merchants who charged too much. But here's the thing about economic laws. They're not like government laws. You can't execute supply and demand. When coins lose value, prices rise. Period. The price controls created shortages. Why would a baker sell bread at a loss? Better to not make bread at all. Store shelves emptied, black markets exploded. The very laws meant to help people made everything worse. By 301 AD, Emperor Diocletian issued the Edict on Maximum Prices, a desperate attempt to freeze prices across the entire empire. It failed spectacularly. Source: Diocletian's Price Edict, translated by Naftali Lewis. The Roman economy collapsed into chaos. Soldiers refused worthless coins. They demanded payment in food, land, anything real. Trade networks disintegrated. Cities depended on imports that never arrived. And regular people, they watched their life savings evaporate. A retired legionnaire who'd saved for 40 years found his money bought a week's worth of food. 1 week, 40 years of sacrifice, gone. Sound familiar? Your savings account right now, let's say you have $10,000. In 2020, that bought X amount of groceries. Today, it buys about $8,200 worth of what you could buy then. Source: CPI inflation calculator, Bureau of Labor Statistics, 2024, same number in your account. Less value in your hand, the Roman pattern, digital version. You're not losing money to theft, you're losing it to inflation. And just like Rome, when you complain about rising prices, you're told it's temporary. Supply chain issues, corporate greed, anything except the actual cause. Too much money chasing too few goods. This pattern didn't die with Rome. 7 centuries later, it woke up in Spain. The year is 1500. Spain just discovered the Americas. Gold and silver pour into Spanish port ships full of treasure from conquered lands. Spain becomes the wealthiest nation on earth overnight. The Spanish real is backed by gold. Real, physical gold. What could go wrong? Everything. Because here's the trick about money value isn't about how much exists. It's about how much exists relative to goods and services. Spain flooded Europe with gold and silver. Suddenly, everyone in Spain had more coins. But they weren't producing more bread, more cloth, more anything. More money, same amount of stuff. Prices exploded. Source: The Price Revolution in 16th Century England by Peter Ramsay. Between 1500 and 1600, prices in Spain increased 400%. A chicken that cost 1 real in 1500 cost 4 reals in 1600. Same chicken, quadruple the price. Historians call it the Price Revolution. But it wasn't revolutionary, it was the same pattern Rome experienced. Playing out again, Spanish kings spent the treasure as fast as it arrived. Wars, palaces, fleets, they thought the gold would last forever. It didn't. By 1557, Spain declared bankruptcy. The richest country on earth. Bankrupt how? They confused wealth with money. Wealth is productivity farms, producing food, factories making goods, people creating value. Money is just a tool to exchange that wealth. Spain had infinite money, but their wealth didn't grow. So the money lost value, and the empire that conquered half the world couldn't afford to pay its soldiers. Fast forward to 1923, Weimar Germany. World War I just ended. Germany lost. The Treaty of Versailles demands crushing reparations, 132 billion gold marks. Germany is devastated. The economy is in ruins. How do they pay? They print money. Lots of it. The German Reichsmark starts losing value slowly, then faster, then catastrophically. January 1923, $1 equals 18,000 marks. November 1923, $1 equals 4.2 trillion marks. Source: When Money Dies by Adam Ferguson. Read that again. 4.2 trillion marks for $1. In 11 months, let me tell you about a real person. His name was Carl. He was a teacher in Berlin. I am 43 years old. He'd been saving his entire adult life for retirement. Putting aside money every month, responsible, careful. In January 1923, his savings could have bought a small house. By November, his life savings, every mark he'd ever saved, bought 1 loaf of bread. 1. Imagine working for 25 years, saving, sacrificing, delaying gratifications, and watching it all vanish in months. Not because you made bad choices, because your government made them for you. Source: Personal accounts documented in the Weimar Republic sourcebook, edited by Anton Kayes. German workers got paid twice a day, morning and lunch, because by evening, morning's wages were worthless. Wives would meet husbands at factory gates to rush to stores before prices changed again. Prices didn't rise daily, they rose hourly. A cup of coffee cost one price when you ordered it, a different price when you finished drinking it. Children played with stacks of money, literally built towers with billion-mark notes because they were worthless. People burned cash for heat because it was cheaper than buying firewood. This wasn't ancient history, this was 1923. Modern times, phones existed, cars, electricity, and yet money became meaningless. The German government's response: they printed more money. They denied it was a problem until it was catastrophic. They blamed speculators, hoarders, foreign conspiracies. Everyone except their own policies. And when the economy imploded, it created conditions for political extremism. Desperate people embraced desperate solutions. The hyperinflation of 1923 didn't just destroy savings, it destroyed trust in democratic institutions. 10 years later, that mistrust helped bring Hitler to power. Economic collapse has political consequences. This pattern doesn't just make people poor, it makes societies unstable. Now notice something. Rome 3rd century, Spain 16th century, Germany 20th century. Different eras, different technologies, different political systems, but the same 3 mistakes. Mistake 1. Expand money supply beyond economic growth. Mistake 2. Deny it's happening until it's obvious. Mistake 3. Try to control prices instead of fixing the money. And each time, the result is the same. Inflation, collapse, suffering. The pattern repeats. But the cycle was accelerating. Japan, 1986, the economy is booming. Real estate prices are soaring. Stock market hitting records. Everyone's getting rich, at least on paper. Banks lend freely. Why not? Property values only go up, right? The government keeps interest rates low. Credit is cheap. Borrow and buy. Buy and borrow. By 1989, the land under the Imperial Palace in Tokyo was theoretically worth more than all of California. Source: Princes of the Yen by Richard Werner. Read that again. One palace grounds, more valuable than the entire state of California, that's not wealth. That's a delusion. 1991. Real estate plummets 80%. People who bought houses at peak prices suddenly owe more than their homes are worth. Banks that lent millions discover their collateral is worthless. Companies go bankrupt. Jobs disappear. Retirement accounts evaporate. A factory worker named Hiroshi had invested his savings in the stock market in 1989. By 1991, he'd lost 70% of his retirement. He was 58 years old. Too old to start over. Too young to retire. He'd worked his entire life, played by the rules. And the rules changed. Source: The Japanese Economy by Tokutoshi Ito, MIT Press. Japan's government response: lower interest rates to zero, then below zero. Print money, stimulate the economy. 30 years later, Japan still hasn't fully recovered. They call it the lost decades, an entire generation that entered. The workforce in the 1990s never experienced real economic growth. Your age doesn't matter, your timing does. Born at the wrong moment, you suffer for decades, through no fault of your own. And here's where the pattern becomes terrifying. Each collapse happens faster than the last. Rome took centuries. Spain took decades. Germany took months. Japan took years. But the crash itself, 18 months from peak to crisis. The cycle is speeding up. September 15, 2008, Lehman Brothers collapses. One of America's oldest investment banks, 158 years old, gone in hours. Stock market crashes. Housing prices plummet. Within weeks, the global financial system nearly dies. Banks stop lending. Businesses can't make payroll. Retirement accounts lose 50%. The Great Recession begins. Millions lose their homes, their jobs, their savings. And why? Because banks made the same mistakes as everyone before them. They created too much credit mortgages for anyone with a pulse. They denied the housing bubble existed. They assumed prices would only go up. History's oldest lessons ignored. Source: The Financial Crisis Inquiry Report, U.S. Government. 2011, let me tell you about Maria. She worked as a nurse in Phoenix, Arizona. Bought a house in 2006 for $350,000. By 2009, it was worth $180,000. She still owed $330,000. She couldn't sell without losing everything. She couldn't afford the payments. She lost the house. Her credit score was destroyed. Years of savings, down payment, moving costs, improvements gone, and Maria. She was one of 10 million Americans who lost their homes between 2007 and 2010. Source: CoreLogic Negative Equity Report. 10 million families, same story, different addresses. But here's what makes 2008 different. The response: governments printed money on a scale never seen before. The Federal Reserve created $4 trillion out of thin air. Source: Federal Reserve balance sheet data, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of England. Everyone printed trillions. Collectively, they called it quantitative easing. Fancy term for an old mistake? And it worked, sort of. It prevented total collapse. Stock markets recovered, housing bounced back, crisis averted. Except it wasn't fixed, it was postponed. All that money went somewhere. It didn't disappear. And here's where we connect to your life. Right now, today, 2024. That money printed in 2008, it's still in the system. More printing during COVID, another $5 trillion. Source, Congressional Budget Office 2022-2021, more money, same amount of goods. What happens? Prices rise. Not suddenly like slowly, quietly, a few percent here, a few percent there. Eggs cost $2 in 2020, $6 in 2024. Source, USDA National Retail Report, that's 200% in 4 years. Your rent, average rent in major cities, jumped 25% since 2020. Source, Zillow Rent Index 2020 for your salary, maybe up 10% if you're lucky. The gap widens, every month, every year. You feel it, in the grocery store, at the gas pump, paying bills. Something's wrong, you're working the same, maybe harder, but you're falling behind. That's not in your head. That's the pattern. Mistake 1 already happened. They expanded the money supply, trillions printed. Mistake 2 is happening, now denial. Inflation is transitory, they said in 2021. Source, Federal Reserve Press Conference, 2021, it wasn't. It's supply chains, they say now. Corporate greed, anything except the money supply. Classic denial. Rome blamed merchants. Germany blamed speculators. We blame corporations. Different scapegoat. Same denial. And, mistake 3, it's coming. Price controls, rent control, windfall profit taxes. The same solutions were tried before. The same solutions that fail every time. Because you can't legislate away inflation. You can't force prices down when money is losing value. You create shortages, black markets, worse outcomes. But it's politically easier to blame businesses than admit the government created the problem. So we'll try it anyway, and it will fail. Again, here's what keeps me awake. 5 examples. Rome, Spain, Germany, Japan. 2008. Each one is faster than the last. Rome took centuries to collapse. Spain took decades. Germany took months. The 2008 crisis lasted weeks. What happens next? Days, hours. The pattern accelerates, and we're not learning, we're repeating. As of October 2024, U.S. national debt stands at $35 trillion. Source, U.S. Treasury Department, that's $270,000 for every taxpayer. Not every citizen. Every person who pays taxes. Your debt that you didn't ask for. Inflation over the past 4 years averaged 6%. Source, Bureau of Labor Statistics, CPI data, your wages went up maybe 3%. The gap widens, your purchasing power shrinks, you're working harder to afford less. That's not bad luck, that's the pattern. You're saving ZIF, you've saved $10,000 in 2020, it's worth $8,200 in purchasing power today. Source, CPI inflation calculator, same number in the account. Less value in reality, student loans. Average monthly payment, $503. Source, Federal Student Aid, 2024, average rent, $1,800. Source, Apartment List National Rent Report, that's $2,300 going before food. Transport, healthcare, anything else, one paycheck, rent, and debt. What's left? Healthcare. Insurance premiums jumped 30% since 2020. Source, Kaiser Family Foundation, 2024, coverage decreased. You pay more, get less. See the pattern? It's not one thing, it's everything. All at once, rent rising, food costs climbing, savings losing value, wages stagnant, debt growing. This isn't random, this is stage 6. Stage 7 collapses. We're not there yet, but the warning signs are flashing. And here's what history teaches us. By the time everyone sees the crisis, it's too late. The time to prepare is when things still seem okay. When people call you paranoid for worrying, that's the time. But let me be clear. I'm not saying collapse is inevitable tomorrow. I don't know when. Nobody does. Rome took another 50 years after the crisis began. Spain took a century. Germany took months. Japan's been in slow decline for 30 years. The timeline varies, but the direction doesn't. Once the pattern starts, it doesn't reverse without pain. The question isn't if things will change, it's how. Slowly, like Japan, catastrophically, like Germany, somewhere in between. And here's what should terrify you and give you hope simultaneously. We know this pattern. We've seen it 5 times. We've documented it, studied it, written books about it. The information isn't hidden. It's in libraries, universities, Federal Reserve reports. Anyone can read it. And yet, we're repeating it anyway. Why? Because the human psychology that drives the pattern is stronger than the knowledge that it fails. Greed, fear, the belief that this time is different. Every empire thinks they've found the solution previous empires missed. Every empire is wrong. So what does this mean for you? Not abstractions, not theories. You, your family, your money, your future. It means understanding the pattern. Know the stages. Watch for the signs. Stage 1, money supply expansion. It has already happened. Trillions printed. Stage 2, denial. Happening now, inflation is temporary. Stage 3, failed interventions. Coming soon, price controls that create shortages. Stage 4, public awareness. The moment everyone realizes, too late. Stage 5, panic. Bank runs, currency, flight, chaos. Stage 6, reset. New currency, new system, same pattern, waiting to repeat. Where are we between stages 2 and 3? The denial is cracking. More people feel something's wrong, but the official response is still everything's fine. Stage 3, the failed interventions will start when political pressure becomes unbearable. When people demand solutions, any solutions, that's when governments try price controls, rent freezes, profit caps. All the things that sound good but make problems worse. And when those fail, stage 4, that's when it gets dangerous. Not because of the economic problem, because of human psychology, panic. 10 million people trying to withdraw their money at once. 100 million people trying to sell their stocks. It's not the problem that destroys systems. It's the fear of the problem. I'm not telling you this to scare you. Fear without knowledge is panic. Knowledge without fear is ignorance. You need both. Understand the pattern, respect the danger, but don't panic, because here's the other side of history. After every collapse comes recovery. Rome fell, but the people survived, built new cities, new systems. Germany's hyperinflation ended. They introduced a new currency, started over. Japan's bubble burst, but Japan didn't disappear. They adapted, survived. Life continued, just different than expected. Empires fall, currencies collapse, governments change, but people endure. The question isn't whether the pattern completes. History suggests it will. The question is, what do you do with this knowledge? Do you ignore it? Hope it won't happen. That's what most people do, until it's too late. Or do you prepare? Not bunkers and gold coins. Practical preparation. Understand where your money goes. Question what you're told. Don't assume anything is guaranteed. Not your job, not your savings, not the value of currency. The only guarantee is change. 5 empires. Same 3 mistakes, same pattern, same result, and we're watching it happen again. The warning signs are clear. The timeline is compressing. Each cycle is faster than the last. Rome had centuries. We might have years or months, or maybe it stretches out like Japan, decades of slow decline. No one knows, but the direction is set. The pattern doesn't break. It completes. History doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. And right now, the rhyme is getting louder. The question isn't whether you hear it. The question is, are you listening? So let me ask you this. When did you first notice things changing? Was it the grocery store? The gas station? Your rent increase? That moment when you realized your paycheck wasn't stretching like it used to? Drop a comment below. When did the pattern become real for you? Because I guarantee you're not alone. Millions are feeling it. Few understand why. Now you do. And here's my question for you. 5 empires made the same mistakes, and we're making them too. What's the one thing that could be different this time? Is there anything else? Or are we locked into history's trajectory? I've studied this for years. I still don't have that answer. Maybe you do. Let me know below. If this made you see money differently, if you connected dots you hadn't before, hit subscribe, because this is just the beginning. Next time, we're going deeper. into the one warning sign that appeared before every single collapse, the sign that's appearing right now. You won't want to miss it. Thank you for reading this to the end. If you made it here, you're in the minority. Most people stop, most people don't want to know, but you do. That means something. Stay curious, stay informed, stay prepared. I'll see you in the next one.